please join me for a pledge allegiance this time? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chris, you have anything that'll take up a couple minutes before we get to our first agenda item?
There is one Dufresne rental. It is it's for a high school cross-country meet on October 11th, 2022, arriving 2 p.m., departing 6:30 p.m., maximum number of people 100. Area requested are the bathrooms, the field, and the cross-country course. And another item that I have is that I've been notified by the building inspector that he plans on retiring in the near future. So we need to start looking at potentially advertising for a replacement with a building commissioner's status for the state. If we cannot find one, there was a firm out there that had come in a couple of years back. I think it's called Ford Leaf, and they do inspectional services and zoning enforcement. So if need be, I could probably contact them and see what they charge to perform those services for the town.
Does Greg have a time frame?
I'd rather not give it out at this point because it's not definite.
Okay, all right.
He has a couple definite items, but the actual date that he plans on retiring revolves around a couple things happening in his life.
All right.
So.
But he is leaving, so we need to...
Yes.
Okay.
At some point.
Yeah. It'd be nice if he could get someone aboard before he leaves. So. Okay. Anything else? Is that it?
That's
That's
it.
it, Ron?
I don't see Mr. Edwards here yet either, so I don't know if you want to go move on with other items on the agenda.
Okay, we can. Let's see if, well, I want to go through the departmental reports.
So I can make a motion to accept the departmental reports.
Is everybody else set with that?
Yes.
Second? Second, all right. Is there any further discussion this time?
No.
Nope.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? I'll hold off on the maintenance warrants. What is the proposed nonprofit form?
That one was the permit fee waiver request.
Oh, for rentals, like such as?
Or Gary's permits.
Okay.
That was the draft form. Open to any suggestions that the board may have.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
The only thing I'd like to add to it would be the question if they're nonprofit. And if they are nonprofit, what are they? Are they a 401c or?
Down at the bottom, if you read, I give a proposed definition.
Reading for request.
But it'd be helpful, I think up top, to ask them that though, if they are a nonprofit.
Well, I figured they could identify that under the reason for the request. But if you want, I'll put a check.
Well,
for it, sir.
because you're actually asking them if they're nonprofit or not, so they have to answer the question.
All right.
So, that's the only thing I have on that. Let's see, what else we have? Time to
Mr.
do-
Edwards is here.
What are you walking? Oh, okay. All right, we'll move on to our 535, which is with John Edwards for Phase 2 of Dufresne tree removal.
Might be
Is he walking? Where's him?
No, he's
don't
not
see
here.
Where's him?
Go back on the map.
Maybe he is, all right. So why don't we look at, let's look at things that won't take too long.
You want to do number 6?
Yeah, we can look at the affirmative appointment to the Police Advisory Board.
I'll turn it over to Chief O'Grady because
Okay.
he's the one who contacted the individual.
Good afternoon.
So we had an opening and Mr. Martin and I were discussing some possible people, and a retired state trooper lives in town, Annette Kamiga, and she said she'd be interested in it. This is the advisory board that when we either have a promotion or we go from part-time to full-time or hiring, they help us assist with choosing the officer that's going to be the next one.
Okay. Would anybody like to speak with her or anything?
Was she, wasn't she like a environmental police first? And then
I believe she was a
transferred over?
registry officer
Reg-
and
oh, registry,
then went to state police.
Okay.
And just so the board knows, the person who was formerly on the board was also a former state police officer.
Oh, so that's nice. Yeah, but-
Captain Barrett?
Yes.
And so the Police Advisory Board, I'm sorry, is a board that looks for part-time or full-time officers to take the place of someone who's leaving? Is it-
Correct.
okay.
It's like any of our promotions, like even part-time to full-time is like a promotion, so any of our promotions
Okay.
or the hiring process in general, they advise.
I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a great idea.
I'm aware of her, so I
Okay.
know where she stands.
All right.
So I will make a motion to accept Annette, is it Kamiga?
Yes.
Okay, Kamiga on the Police Advisory Board.
I'll second.
Second. Is there any further discussion?
Can I just add through June 30th, 2023?
You just did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Guess he did go in.
Do you want to do number 5, to approve and sign the state primary election warrant? Get out of the way.
That should be up in the new business folder. Should have 2 signature tags on it.
So do you want me to read it? All right, so Commonwealth of Massachusetts, William Francis Galvin, Secretary of the Commonwealth, Town of Granby, warrant for 2022 state primary. So what's SS, Hampshire? It says SS. Doesn't matter.
No.
So this is to the constables of the town of Granby and county of Hampshire. In the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town who are qualified to vote in primaries to vote at the Granby Junior Senior High School at 385 East State Street in said town for precincts 1, 2, and 2A. So it's precincts 1, 2, and 2A, and polling location is 385 East State Street on Tuesday, the 6th day of September 2022, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the following purpose: to cast their votes in the state primaries for the candidates of political parties for the following offices: Governor for this Commonwealth, Lieutenant Governor for this Commonwealth, Attorney General for this Commonwealth, Secretary of State for this Commonwealth, Treasurer for this Commonwealth, Auditor for this Commonwealth, Representative in Congress for the 1st District, Counselor for the 8th District, Senator in General Court, Hamden, Hampshire, and Worcester District, Representative in General Court, 3rd Hampshire District, Precinct 1 and 2A, Representative in General Court, 2nd Hampshire District, Precinct 2, District Attorney for the Northwestern District, and Sheriff for Hampshire County. Hereof fail not or make return of this warrant, with your doings thereon to the town clerk at the time and place of said voting. So given under our hands this first day of August 2022.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? No? All in favor of approving?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is anybody opposed? Just like that, there will be an election. Thank you. So now we have Attorney DeCruz? Is that correct? For, we have a Conservation Commission regarding Munson Ridge. Just state your name and address, sir, please.
Hello, John DeCruz, 119 Windsor Street in Ludlow, Counsel for PC Development. So this goes back a while. I sent that letter recently just to basically get it in front of the board. In February of 2020, I submitted the conservation restriction that was approved by the state to the Board of Selectmen and to Conservation for their review and signature. And then unfortunately COVID hit and everything kind of came to a screeching halt. But I believe at the end of 2020, things kind of started to reopen, and then Attorney O'Toole can tell you, I've probably got 30 or 40 phone calls into him to move this forward, and it just had not moved and kind of fallen off the face of the earth. And then we discussed it, and he said, you know, write a letter and get it in front of the Board of Selectmen, and here we are today. My client has done everything that's been requested in order to get the conservation restriction approved. I think the most recent question was regarding a baseline report. Don Frederick did a plan which was approved by the planning board and recorded that outlines all of the wetlands. I think the only thing left is a walk of the property and some photos with the Conservation Commission, between the Conservation Commission and my client, in order to create that finalized baseline report, which is in essence what the property looks like now, so that the town has, again, a baseline of what it looks like once the conservation restriction goes into effect. So we're just looking to have the process completed. Conservation did reach out to me, and you know, part of this actually falls on the town, the grantee. That's what it says in the bylaw. But we're willing to help in any way we can, and we have done everything we can to get this to completion. So we're just looking for the board to act on it and have the Conservation Commission act on it. Much like in Ludlow, you're the appointing authority for the Conservation Commission, so you can kind of give them a gentle nudge to finish it off, I guess.
Brian, what do you see from the town's point? We talked about the baseline, that basically just going out, taking pictures and have an idea where it looks like from the get-go?
Certainly when this came across my email, more than a year ago, if not longer than that, I believe I reviewed the conservation restriction on behalf of the select board. And I believe the select board had questions regarding if someone got injured on the property, would there be any liability to the town? And my answer to that was no, given one, the agreement itself, and two, their statutory protections for the open use of land for conservation, recreational, educational purposes, so long as a fee is not charged. One thing that I did pick up, though, as almost kind of a footnote, was that on one of these pages, it referenced a baseline report that was not attached, and I said, well, hopefully Conservation and the Select Board have reviewed that, and come to find out there wasn't one. So that's actually been the process that Attorney DeCruz and I have been going through. I was a little surprised that at least a representative from Conservation is not here. Kind of the purpose for me putting this together and having Attorney DeCruz put that letter here was so that we could have all the parties in the room here to try to figure out when we could get this baseline report in front of the Select Board, in front of Conservation, so that an action can be taken one way or the other. I believe the conservation restriction came about as a result of the planning board when part of, or this area was going to be developed. One of the trade-offs was for the developer here to set aside almost 10 acres of land so that it would be untouched. In terms of for the town, certainly the board can decide whether or not a conservation restriction would be a good idea. I would imagine most times they would go along with that. It would be in perpetuity, so it can't be developed. But certainly my concern for the town is, even with COVID, this request was put in February of 2020, and we're now in August of 2022. And quite honestly, we're at the same point that we were when Attorney DeCruz first contacted me. So I would advise the town so as not to avoid unnecessary entanglements. Because at some point, the applicant would have to do something to force action with, whether that's in the nature of a certiorari action in the Superior Court. I have no thoughts on that as of right now as to the success of it, but certainly it would simply drive up attorney's fees on both sides. And for, quite honestly, for what this baseline report is supposed to be, I believe Janice Stone has, as a result of Attorney DeCruz's letter, my request that we hold this, I was hoping to be a joint hearing, to move this along. It seems as though Ms. Stone has reached out to Attorney DeCruz to, one of the things that the baseline report has referenced, a map which Attorney DeCruz has done, has submitted, has recorded with the registry of deeds. It also talks about photographs and other documents that would essentially let future members of either conservation or whoever the enforcing authority is to ensure compliance with this restriction, that they can go back and look at what it was, if there was a complaint, or if there's going to be a yearly inspection of the site. We know where we are. I'm sure we've ran into some issues in town here where we don't have those documents, and when we go back to try and someone says that either something's grandfathered in or there has been a violation of something, if the town doesn't have that information to go back and look upon, well, the town's going to be in a difficult position to enforce the restriction itself. So I believe this is something that should be done. It sounds like it can be done relatively quickly, and I would urge the board to do that and let others that are under their purview to let them know that this is something that I believe needs to be done. Otherwise, we need to go down a road that we don't have to for something that is I would say 95% of the way there, but we do need that baseline report so that we don't run into an issue 10 years down the road. If someone's looking to enforce it or complains about something going on there, we at least have the start of the history. And I would also recommend at some point, which isn't the point of this, but probably every year, the Conservation Commission, through their duly appointed representative, they should probably go out every year and update that report, or at least ensure and make a note that in 2023, everything was fine, 2024, everything's fine. So that way we have a better understanding of what, if anything, I believe under this conservation restriction, basically nothing is going to be going on there other than what's allowed in the conservation restriction. That's my thoughts as town council.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anybody from the Conservation Commission here?
Both here now.
Yeah,
Come on up.
You guys want to address that?
sure. Ed Chapdelaine, Vice Chair, Granby Conservation Commission. We have received this back in February, I believe, 2020 with the pandemic and ongoing, but the town attorney is correct that we do need to generate a base plan, if you will, showing what the conditions are on site. The plan was recently recorded at the Registry of Deeds, showing the conservation restriction area. It's unmonumented, so there's no way that any commissioner or person we hire to do this, they won't know where they are on the grounds. So it needs to be monumented for anybody to go look at it, to generate that base report. So that's one thing that the applicant needs to do.
So it's not indicated that as to what areas it is?
There are no monuments listed on each corner. Plan was recorded on April 1st, 2022. Plan book 251, page 99 at the Hampshire County Registry of Deeds. There are no monuments other than monuments shown on Carver Street, one or two monuments. So to generate this base report, we have to know where we are on the ground.
If I may. The way the conservation restriction is written from the state, the responsibility for the baseline report falls on the grantee, which is the town. This is all the town's responsibility to do these things, not ours. We've carried the water on this because we've been asked to, as a favor to the town, to try to get this to move along. That plan that was done by Don Frederick, we did. My client paid for that. The marking of it, the recording of it, we did all that. Janice asked us to flag it. I've discussed with him. He said, okay, we're willing to do anything to get this passed, but the responsibility technically does not fall on us. It falls on the town, to the grantee, under the conservation restriction.
Well,
But we're more than willing to help out to try to get this over the finish line.
It needs to be marked, the physical location on the ground with either concrete bounds or iron pipes, something so someone could walk to and say, I'm at point A.
Right,
At
but
point
that's
B.
technically not our responsibility.
I believe it is.
It's the town's. No, you can ask town council, he's right here.
Well,
So I'm just,
Then the baseline report can't be generated, we don't know where we are on the ground.
All right, so why don't we,
Yeah, Bill Sheehy, Chair of the Commission. There's a provision in the document that says, in the event of a dispute of a boundary, that, Janice, how does that read?
In the event of a dispute over the boundaries of the conservation restriction, grantor shall pay for a survey and have the boundaries permanently marked.
There you go.
right, but there's no dispute. There's no
Well, there is a
dispute.
dispute, because if we're out there, we don't know where we are, then,
We're getting convoluted for nothing. We're more than willing to get it done. I'm just trying to be clear about the responsibility.
What we like is
That's all. We want to do it, we'll help,
We'd
do
like to
do it.
please, one at a time so we can hear
we'd like the
something.
perimeter of the site flagged.
Yeah.
So that we can walk it and
Yeah.
take photographs.
Yeah.
This site is on the town boundary of Belchertown.
Yeah.
And it's on the boundary of a Eversource power line easement.
Yeah.
Which of course is about to be enlarged, that's another story in itself. This is a prime spot for people to dump debris, historically. Town, rural roads on the edge of towns. We want to go in there and do our best, due diligence to make sure there's no mattresses, gasoline cans, lawnmowers, appliances, all that sort of stuff. Because if there is, my opinion is the grantor is duly required to clean up that mess. But we do want to do a survey on behalf of the town, as noted by Attorney O'Toole.
So, if I'm hearing you correct, Attorney DeCruz, you're fine with putting that information together?
We will put that together. I just want to be clear, that's not our responsibility to do it, and we had this long discussion about this. It's
Yep.
technically the grantee's responsibility to do it.
Just to facilitate the work, we really like to have the boundary clearly marked so we can do the perimeter work.
Right, see, and part of the problem is when we submitted this 2 years ago, we never got an answer about anybody, but the town wanting to do it, not do it, and it just sat forever. You know, technically, the town should have done it. We're past that. We're willing to do all of it. We just want to get it done, you know? But that's kind of where we're at. We just want to get it done. We already have the plan done by Frederick. We'll have him go out there and flag it, and then everybody can walk it and agree.
Again, I think the simplest way is for the commission to go out there, do the walk around, take the photos. We'll have Janice write it up at her rate. Otherwise, we'd have to commission a third-party contractor to go out there and do the work. That would take months. But I think if Mike can have the perimeter flag on both parcels, Janice and I and Dave and Ed and the rest of the commission can do a walk around, do our photos, write up a baseline report. But the key is, on behalf of the town, Glenn, is to make sure there's no debris on the site. I'm really concerned there might be some debris.
I would agree, we want to make sure everything is the way it should be to start off from the get-go.
Okay?
The only thing that my client was saying that he just would like to know what exactly you want marked
What
for
points,
flags.
what exact points do you want?
I would love to have, every 30 feet or so, just have a flag, have a orange flag
But
along
you're
the
only gonna
boundaries.
get, but then you want stuff to be for later on, so you want the corners, the iron pins in the corners, and then maybe a...
But for this first walk around, we'd like flags that are gonna deteriorate after a year. You'll have hard points going forward, but we'd like reference flags, at least for the temporary walk around up front. Okay? And Ed, you've got the plans.
So, Bill brought up a point about the electric easement. We're putting a conservation restriction on an easement that's already been granted to what the Montague Power or Western Mass Electric. I don't know if we have the ability as this town to put that restriction on that easement, which already exists.
The other thing is, the power company is gonna be applying chemicals. Now that I'm on the Board of Health, of course, that's another hat I'm wearing. But they're gonna be applying chemicals, and they're gonna widen that veg easement from 125 to 200 feet.
So, for us, Attorney O'Toole can look at that as far as the easement, and then if that is any concerns to the town if we're changing it.
Which I think it would, personally, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, we'll have our town council look at that, that's...
Okay, thank you.
And kind of just getting back to where we were, so if you can, Attorney DeCruz, if you could take care of that with your client. And again, as you say, it's not your requirement. If it's not, it's not. I greatly appreciate it. I mean, obviously, we want to bring everything to a closure here and really, get that area up and going. Definitely. I mean, I remember several years ago when I was on the planning board when that first came about.
Yeah.
It was some time ago. So.
And we appreciate all your help, and like I said, we're willing to just get this done in order to move this forward and get it signed off and completed.
Yeah, and I think as the gentleman from the conservation was talking about, it makes it easier for them to kind of identify and locate the areas they should be looking at. So,
Sure.
So just, and again, I appreciate your help and your understanding as well. Regards to, as you said, it's been almost 2 years, and I can understand some frustration on your part as well.
Well, thank you for having us in tonight, and hopefully we can get this resolved fairly quickly and marked, and then once it's flagged, the walkthrough can happen shortly after that.
Yeah, well, what I'm going to do for our board, do you have any questions?
I just wanted to kind of clarify with the Conservation Commission. So Attorney DeCruz and his client are going to go around and walk the perimeter and put up flags for you guys. And then you said eventually the concrete markers and the pins will come later. Who's doing those? So they're going to go around and do the walk of the perimeter and make sure that the flags are up and that the corners are marked. But then, I think Chapdelaine, I'm sorry, you had said the permanent markers will come later. Who's going to? to do
I
the,
would suggest the permit markers go in now.
okay.
Why waste, effort?
So at the four corners, which is what
More than
the,
four corners.
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, it's a polygon. So those should be marked, and then intermediate yellow or orange flags, so we can do the walk around. The commission will do the walk around, we'll take the photos, we'll write the baseline report. And the objective of the report is to make sure that the property is as described in the document.
So how long after they mark the property would it take you to complete the report, the baseline
That's a
report?
good question, but Janice and I have discussed this. We'd like at least 60 days to do this. Preferably 90, but I think we get it done in 60 days after it's flagged on the field.
I'm gonna ask if you could speed it up a little bit,
We will.
just based on, as I said, it's been over 2 years, they've been waiting. And I'm sure they'll probably have someone out there putting flags out there tomorrow.
We'll do
So,
our best. We'll schedule
so
our best.
I greatly appreciate that, so we can bring some closure to this as well. Chris, if we could put this on our agenda, not our next meeting, but our following meeting, to kind of follow up to see where we are with it and where the standing is. That'll give us almost 4 weeks from today. And I'd like to know where we stand and where everything is at that point.
Hopefully we'll have it all marked out before then, so.
Yeah.
Can we just, once it's marked, is it possible that we can get out there like within 30 days to do the
Oh,
walk?
absolutely, absolutely,
That's-
yes.
I would ask the applicant to have a surveyor contact us and let us know when he's going out there. That way we can get a heads up and make sure
Okay.
that, yeah, this looks good, this is what he's doing.
Okay,
You know, make sure that it's the right monumentation.
Okay.
So we don't repeat ourselves.
yeah, absolutely. No, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So make it clear, we're only doing iron pins on the corners.
No, and you're
We're not
doing the intermediate flags.
Yeah, no balance, no balance. That's the-
There's more than four corners, there's
Yeah,
turn
yeah.
points.
To do all the perimeter.
Make it as easy for us.
Make it easy to walk. Our objective is to walk the perimeter and take some pictures.
Thank you, everyone, I appreciate it.
Okay, folks, thank you.
Thank you.
John, thank you, Mike. Brian, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk tomorrow.
Is that right?
Labor Day 5th.
Labor Day is the 5th, yes.
I actually like to meet on that Tuesday, though.
The 6th.
Yeah, the 6th.
I figured Tuesday the 6th.
Tuesday the 6th.
Yeah, I don't want, because if not, we end up going back-to-back weeks of meetings, and,
Oh, hang on. So, wonderful. Well, it's probably the next week.
all right. What else we got? I didn't see John Edwards step in.
No, but Kim's here.
Nope.
Okay.
The dog house.
But your 6 o'clock appointment's here.
We do, yeah. Just circling back to our 5:35 one, that's all.
You know,
All right.
I've been looking for him, he hasn't showed up
Okay.
yet.
You sure? 'Cause he said he came in.
I had the glass at the top of my head, I couldn't see that far.
All right, our 6 o'clock appointment, our dog officer.
So I believe the board's aware, our longtime animal control officer, Mr. Landry, is retired, and Mrs. Bernie Goldsmith heard of the opening and contacted me. We've had some discussions. There's some training that she would be required to go to. She's well aware of what that is, and a vaccination to avoid, as an animal control officer, to help
Rabies.
prevent rabies. She's working on that as well, and I think she'd be a good fit.
Remember too, those are just like several different shots, right, for rabies?
Only
Like
if you,
preventive?
no, only if
No?
you get bit and they
Oh.
don't know if the animal had rabies or not. If you just go for like a preventative, it's just a one and done.
You get
Well,
bit.
you might want to just get the one and done. That's-
Yeah, that's, I'm scheduled for Wednesday as long as everything worked out here.
All right. Does any of the board members have questions?
I was just curious, what is the training for it?
It's
Is it an extensive?
It's 7 weeks,
Okay.
2 days a week.
Okay.
I don't know what they get, to be honest.
Yeah.
It didn't tell us a whole lot. It
Right.
just so happened that there was some information about it.
Yeah,
That's
I
why
printed
reached
out, I printed out the list that kind of tells you what they do in the training and if you want to see it. Whatever page.
And we still use the dog pound behind the highway department?
Yep, yep. And we do have a couple people interested in like being backups. If-
Okay.
If
Not available.
she's away or.
Do they gotta
Yeah.
go through the same training?
Thank you.
No. And you know, I explained to her, most of the time, when the dogs are friendly and they come to the officers, we end up just putting them in the car, bringing them over to the pound. They take a picture, it gets put on Facebook, and usually within an hour, the dog goes home. But in the meantime, we would contact her,
Yep.
let her know the dog is there, and then obviously contact her when the dog is bailed out, and just in case she has to go over and check on it, or, and the unfortunate time, we.
Bailed out.
Yeah, exactly. We had, we have had to deal with a couple abandoned dogs over the years, and Mr. Landry said he would help us with his resources and try to, you know, we could contact him and we could call the people to see if there's a rescue that's willing to come and help out.
Okay.
So
What about horses?
there's a field driver for that, but we don't even have that position at this point. But, or again, we have a list, you probably remember from the days, we have a list of most residents that own cows. And if you don't have it on your list, please contact us, as well as horses. And
Well, I have horses and a barn and a trailer and,
so, again, most of the time, somebody stops, helps, and we locate the owner.
You have that dog grooming place, is that
Yeah.
yours, right next to something special?
correct, yeah.
So it'll be convenient, if she knows there's a dog, she can walk across the street on her break and,
Clean it up nice and
check
check
on
on
it.
the cat.
Yep, give him a nice bath before he goes home.
All right.
She may recognize some of the dogs.
She might.
Sometimes we do, honestly, so I've called a couple times, I'm like, I know that dog, we just groomed it.
I got no more questions.
Sounds like a good program.
And the town does own one of those scanners, so they can check for the microchip and then
Yeah, we have one.
try to figure out
Whose dog
who
it
issued
is,
it, and
yeah.
then we can figure out where they belong.
How long are those good for? The chips?
The microchip?
Indefinitely, as long as,
Indefinitely.
yeah, I mean, as long as whoever gets the dog transfers it, if, you know, it's passed hands a couple of times. But I breed labs too, so like I have a scanner, you check the puppies and you just check them with the scanner to match them up.
My lab's 13.
Oh,
She's getting old.
Who maintains the dog pound now? Does anyone kind of maintain it, or?
Right now, that's kind of comes under the animal control,
Okay,
officer,
officer, which we
yeah.
don't have.
And then if there's any,
Okay.
if there's any building maintenance issues,
Yeah.
Jeremy handles that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I think it's a great idea. So I can make a motion to accept Kim Bernier Goldsmith as our dog officer until June 30th, 2023.
I'll second that motion.
Is it the official name, animal control officer or dog
Yes.
officer?
Yes.
So it's animal control officer?
Correct.
Animal control, okay,
Yep.
because on our appointment list, it says dog officer.
No, I know.
Okay. Do you want me to
Sorry,
change?
that's the email I
We're just
sent
gonna appoint her
last
to the animal
Animal
control
control
officer.
officer,
That's the
okay.
title that they have to.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah, yep. Just want to make sure. Okay. All right, any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No? Well, there you go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for stepping up.
Of course.
Chris, is there a time frame, date on that appointment? That's,
I said June 30th, 2023.
oh, you just say that? I'm
Yeah, it's
sorry, I
every
missed
year.
it. Okay.
Yes, she did.
She did. I was thinking about the animal control officer question.
But I would suggest if we have alternate dog officer or animal control officers, they get that preventative shot also.
I
Just
think
in
I would
case-
recommend
just
that.
in case.
Yeah,
You know, I'd rather, like you said, take one shot than a series of shots.
yeah, absolutely, and avoid anything else that could happen. I think it's a great suggestion that the chief can make and she can make, and, you know, if we have any, the backups, if you will, there are alternates, that they should be considerate
have them in shop.
Yeah, that's all, just,
All right, well, moving right along. Let's see what we got. Correspondence. Correspondence, you have anything with correspondence?
There's a bunch of stuff in there, but I think
Anything?
it's everything that we got in the email. So the higher
Nothing.
distance
Yep.
inspection, Comcast programming, Board of Health minutes,
I didn't see the
and the
DEP.
Pioneer Valley report. What would you like to see?
The DEP one, I didn't see that.
And then there's Comcast in there, and then
I saw the Comcast,
change in
yeah.
programming,
There's a couple of them.
and the Pioneer Valley updated report.
Oh, I did see this.
Now, the audit, was that because of something that had happened in the past, or they're just going to check out this property because it's a random property that they can audit?
I believe it's something occurred in the past and they're just going out to check it out.
Okay, that's what I understood from the document. But then it said later on that they can randomly do audits, so I wasn't sure.
Well, it's not like they set up once every 3 years, once every 5 years.
Okay,
They can come in 3, they can come in next year, they can, just so you can't clean it up knowing they're coming in every 3 years or something.
Right.
okay.
They can just do that little surprise one.
And she's aware of it, so there's nothing we have to do, or just letting us know that they're coming? Thank you.
Before we get to maintenance warrants, I know Jeremy's here,
Yes.
so just in respect to his time, we could talk about and review the playground and equipment report for Dufrain. Good evening, sir.
So I believe you were all forwarded copies of what I received so far from the inspection.
Yep.
Did you have any direct questions on that needed clarifications, or talking about the report itself, or how do you want to
Seems
approach
like
it?
it's gonna be expensive.
It's going to be very expensive.
That's just for the mulch?
Just the mulch and application, I believe, was $13,015.20 at this time. Prices could go up and services could go up, excuse me, if needed more than 9 inches of the base. That's what they've calculated by going for the lowest spots and highest and just trying to run a transom across. Excuse me. And then also then for the parts that we've seen so far on all the equipment, and to bring them up to code for what we need and safety. That's not actually adding anything or putting back what in the past had been removed. Like in the past, we removed the stair stepper and a motorcycle spring ride had been vandalized and pulled out. So these are just the equipment that's in place right now to be fixed, including the seesaw that I did remove, but it's in storage so that it wouldn't get destroyed by anybody any further. That price was
Jeremy, is that fixable, that seesaw?
It is, yes.
It is?
Actually, if you go through the listing, yep, that's actually the first parts on the list of what was sent over to you guys. Would be the seesaw parts, so it's the springs, and then a retrofit kit.
Yes.
That actually goes around the springs, and that protects it from people putting their hands in and having a pinch point. So that one there, that total was $3,979.34. The parts that aren't in there in the labor is if when you go through the whole site visit and all the recommendations, is that their initial assessment was to not just put mulch down, was to actually excavate the area out, regrade it, put in chipstone, other aggregate, have drainage that goes off towards the swales so that it actually drains, otherwise we're gonna have water constantly sitting. Part of the problem why we have 12 inches of some of the substrate in there now, all the mulch, and in other places we have none, where right down the base is the water. Yeah, it just,
Water moves it.
it washes through there quite often. And as you know, with that park, we have often standing water in one area, and then the next year there's nothing there, and then it goes further over.
Right.
But if you look at where the playground is in relation to the center water mass that's constantly flowing through there by the pine trees, it's all in line.
Right.
So their feeling when he did about 6 core drills in there to see down to the matting was that it was standing water. So if we don't dig down and go through it, you know, we can put all that mulch in there, but there's a chance it's gonna float away and, you know, get moved around to different areas. The other big hazard that is there is all the bases that were put in for the larger swing section near where the rope bridge is and all that. You'll see concrete around the bases. You shouldn't be able to see any of the concrete. It all should be below where the matting is, all the weed barrier.
Probably because all the water,
So
everything's washing away
he
the
believes
top.
that is, yeah, and also he believes that it is, had some frost heaving, and then 2 sets we dug down, and it actually looked like somebody added concrete on top of the original concrete footings to try to either weigh them down or reinforce them, which shouldn't have been done. They should have been removed and then proper footings. So a lot of those areas would have to be excavated out either way. They'd have to be all chipped out, removed, either new bases put on or chipped out enough to use the existing bases. And then a proper, you know, area put in there. So that's something that, you know, it's beyond my skill and capability of doing. We'd have to either look at highway department or a contractor to do that. So there's 6 of those areas that would have that concern. One of the proposals that he put in there are pricing from an outside source. And again, all these prices aren't from the person that came and did the inspection.
Right.
He has no interest in those companies. He's just recommended a couple. Is they also sell rubber matting. So some of the ones that aren't up as high, that could be below the chip when in place by at least 4 inches, we could actually put the 2-inch matting on top of there, and the average price for those mats is $500 a piece. So again, about 6 areas that we'd have to put those. If you noticed in the proposal in here, or the report, it also talks about the swing sets. The swing sets were put in, and they had what's called a bucket seat put in there, full bucket, which is both of the ones for the youth, the children in the center. He believes at the time they were put in that it's actually inappropriate. The amount of swing that you have for the height of the unit outwards exceeds what the limit would be for state regs to have those in there. So those should be removed. You can replace all the swings that are in the middle with the regular standard strap seat, I believe it's called. So we'd be putting 6 across those. All the parts pricing was put into this. That he also recommended, would you be putting, was that 6 pads underneath that as anti-protection for wearing? Because as each person goes, they're usually kicking it. So if you put that at a level about 6 inches below the top of where the mulch is gonna lie, then you should be able to protect that. You wouldn't have to keep replacing mulch, you're just gonna bring it back over the top. And it would also stop with the erosion with the water coming up if we don't go forward and do any other type of excavation of that area and redo it.
I thought I saw something in the report that had them too close to that back barrier or something.
Correct. The swings were, right, swings were not put.
Move the barrier back.
So you gotta move, yeah. Well, actually, because of the distance to the next piece of equipment, you would have to move the back wall out.
Yeah.
The front barrier wall that was placed in the center as you enter that, you'll see in the report, is actually not ADA compliant. That would have to be removed, that whole area regraded. That way it'll be even with the structure substrate. The areas that are on approach to that area would have to be labeled and marked as handicap accessible. Because we have the swales there, there's only one, I think it's 22-foot wide area to come in. So you have to make sure that those 2 spots are marked off handicap. Currently, they're not. So there's a lot to bring it up to where we really should be. If you're gonna put the time and the money into the renovations, you have to make sure that we're also ADA compliant with it. So that's something you're gonna have to look into financially, the investment of that, and also the safety right now, if you keep it open.
Well, just based on the report, Jeremy, and just some of the concerns that were noted, I guess his concern is liability. We've been notified by a outside source that does inspections for playgrounds, and they're telling us that it's unsafe for various reasons. Swing set, some of the other areas, the mulch, and again, some of the other pieces as well there. So I don't think we should keep it open.
I was just gonna say that, it needs to be closed. Maybe the Friends of Dufresne Park can step up and do some, but it sounds like it's huge expense.
It's a large undertaking, it's not a small.
You gotta get somebody to dig all that concrete up, regrade it, move this behind the swing sets back.
It almost sounds to me, and this could be obviously a conversation for a later time, but to look at a new playground. That sounds like, even if we did what we could do there and put all that money into it, we may still run into the same problems down the road. You're still gonna have the same weather, you're gonna have the same water, all those things are still gonna be there. Those things don't change.
Yeah, I think the location is a detriment to where it is right now because of the ground. And then the other thing too, just as a reminder, if you read the report fully on there, the repair parts on here doesn't cover some of the parts that it recommends temporarily fixing, like the crossover bridge and things like that, which would probably be a 3 to 4 year fix. And then I could get pricing on that, but it would be quite an expensive thing as that to do it, so.
Yeah, man, that's where I am right now. I think I don't see why we couldn't have that, I think we should put, what's like orange fencing?
Snow fencing?
Snow fencing to use.
Put it all around and.
Put all the way around it with notices on it that it is closed.
I think people would just tear it down.
Well, again, if people may tear it down, but as far as liability, we're doing our part to inform the public that that area is closed.
We did have the snow fence there during the COVID restrictions when it was closed, and it did get torn down several times.
I also put the notification on the reasons why it's due to it being unsafe and the hazards, yes. And that's our concern, is that people can get hurt if they choose to go on it.
Yeah, I know it's a well-used little park for kids. I know when my kids were small, I took them there a lot.
Yeah, no, I
So
agree.
my wife, and there's a lot of families that use that. And I don't want to see any child hurt.
Could I make a recommendation? If you go for it, if you want that blocked off, would it be okay if we went through and at least took the swings down? Because that's something that draws the older children.
I would agree, yeah, I would take anything that can be used for accessibility or somehow to use it, play on or something like that. I would say take it down, like the seats and stuff like that, and anything else they could use, climbing up things and stuff like that might be appropriate to take it down.
Chain all the way down. Isn't when the chain's
Yeah.
getting worn out down?
Take it from the top right off, so that way it's easier.
Yeah, just take it
It's a
completely
quick
off.
and easy,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, like I said, a later date is probably, talk about, and definitely what we want to do is make sure that, as Rick talked about, that we want to make sure that's there, or we do our part for future generations, to have a park, a playground like the people and the children had in the past. So, kind of look at what maybe we need to do as a town. There may be some type of things out there, grants and things like that. I know there are couple companies that go out there and do build playgrounds for nonprofits and things like that. I don't think cities and towns are eligible, but places like Boys and Girls Clubs and stuff like that are eligible, so maybe we can look at something in town that might be eligible for that type of, say funding, but the type of grant that's out there. I think it's like Boom or something like that, or I can't remember the exact name of it, but they go around and pretty much it's a volunteer-based piece where the company comes in with with their employees that know how to set it up and do everything correctly, but they use all the different volunteers to help mix the cement, help pour stuff, start moving the mulch around, all that different stuff. So, and I know, I believe they did one at the YMCA in Holyoke, and also the Boys and Girls Club in Chicopee. I think it's not to say that that would be the company, but we can definitely go out there and look what's available for other options for us too.
If we were to tear it out, Jeremy, where would you recommend the new site go?
I don't know
Like
offhand.
right
We'd have
back,
to,
how about right back of it? Would that make sense?
well, that whole area right there is pretty
Hard
wet.
back, yeah.
The only place we don't get a lot of rain, and it's kind of tough, but is the other side of the corrals or around that area stays fairly dry. So it's something you probably have to look into
Between
more,
the
maybe do
corrals
some
and
soil
the park,
samples.
Yeah.
I would recommend that before anything, is to, maybe if we looked at that avenue, is getting some core samples drilled.
Yeah, you have
Just
to
to
have
see
it
what the
surveyed.
soil impact is, yeah.
Be the
Do you
best
know?
place for it.
Jeremy, do you know how old the park is?
I don't.
When the Friends of Granby, I know Nancy Hoffenberg was the president of the Friends of Gran, or I don't know if she was a chair, what they
20
called
years.
it then, but has it been 20 years now?
I would say probably right
Yeah,
around
it's
there.
I know it's at least 14.
Yeah, I couldn't get a definite answer. O'Brien and Son and that with the parts and that, and they were looking at the company.
I gotta think, 'cause I remember going there and helping out, so I gotta imagine it's probably
Yeah.
about 20 years ago.
And I believe it was
Before
done,
that, it
and
was the wooden one that was there.
I believe you had 3 different times that it was assembled.
Yeah.
So there's a little confusion on that too, because you had the toddler town area
Yeah.
in one, and then you had to climb across, and then the main
And I know a
structure was
lot of
done.
parents and people volunteered to put that
Yeah.
park up.
Yep.
So I don't know, I'm not for, I guess, tearing it down necessarily. I think if we call a contractor and see what they would have to do to get it up, because most of this is because we don't have the wood chips. All the level 2 is because we don't have any packing or any coverage. So when I look at the level 2 that needs to be done like within a week, it's because we don't have the mulch. And we don't have that padding down.
I don't think it even talked about the water problem. I don't remember reading anything in
It
there.
was in
about
the emails that
Yeah.
went back and forth between, but even if you said, I just think it's gonna be more expensive to get a brand-new park than it is to get that up to grade, get the rocks down there so that you actually have a way to drain the water so that goes into the swale. I don't know, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves by closing the park down completely. That's just my feeling. I think we can close down certain areas, and to not put a toddler swing and to just put bench swings, I don't think is a good thing either. Those are my thoughts.
Right, but I think the park itself's gotta be closed down because it's a
There's only-
liability. Well, they're saying it's
So-
unsafe because
If
of
you
the
want to go
mulch,
that
too.
route, yeah, something's got to be done. I mean,
Yeah,
So, at town meeting, we approved for a machine for you to be able to redistribute what was there, and do we have a timeline on when that machine will be in?
That wouldn't do you any good for what we're looking to
To
do here.
redistribute the mulch and then
No,
to put the
because you need
packing
the
down?
fresh mulch to come in
Right,
for that to be spread out, which
but you
isn't
said
gonna
you
be able
wanted
to
to
do.
grade it first and move what you had around first to loosen it, right?
If you read his thing, you can't, a lot of area doesn't
He's
even
not-
have any, and
Okay.
yet the height is off, so it all has, it basically would have to be professionally done. I'm not gonna ever say I have the skill to be able to do what's needed for that. That's totally beyond my ability. I
So
think if you talk to Highway, it's probably gonna be beyond the scope that they'd wanna take on for that amount of work. You know, again, because you also have to deal with all the footings before you deal with trying to put mulch down. Because otherwise you're gonna put mulch down to redistribute the mulch, and then you're just gonna dig it back up again and have to do like a 4 foot around the whole base. So you're just gonna kind of destroy what you're doing. And since it's, let's see, there's the Toddler Town area that has it. You have all 3 sets of the swings that have it, and you have the front of the climb rocks to get onto the cross bridge. So that whole area would just be ripped back up again.
It's gotta get dug out, deal with the drainage issues. Before, the mulch is the final thing that should go down. I mean, it's nice to dress it up and look good, but there's still an issue underneath it.
And that's the thing, is some of the areas that he dug down didn't have weed barrier. So somebody obviously has done what I anticipated to do, is to spread it around.
Right.
You know, from one area to the other. And unfortunately, when he dug down, there wasn't even a weed barrier. He was gently going down with the tool to do it. And then just said, there's nothing stopping me, and went down a couple feet, and there's nothing. So that's another issue.
So if we do shut down the park, can we do something so that we call a contractor to come out and to give us a price on everything that needs to be done? 'Cause I know
Definitely, definitely say we move
instead
forward
of
with
just,
it, yeah.
instead of just saying, let's like tear it down and rebuild.
No, I wouldn't,
Okay.
that's, no,
That's
I mean,
good.
no, because obviously there's a process to look at.
Okay.
And what, my point being is that, make sure that if it gets to a point where repairing it really outweighs the cost of maybe, hey, it might just be cheaper or more cost efficient or effective to actually build a new playground with new equipment and stuff like that, because regardless of what you do, the equipment in there is still aging.
Yeah.
It's still older equipment, and we'll have problems with it down the road, I'm sure, just as the wear and tear, and it's to the weather and the elements, and things break, things happen, and we've seen it happen with a couple of the items out there already. But yeah, definitely, I think we should move forward with, figuring out what it would cost to have someone do it. And Jeremy, I respect that you being upfront, saying what your ability is. But I also want to make sure that we bring in a company that's what they do, and that it is being done correctly in the way, according to what an inspection is going to see, and that company is adhering to what, whatever the restrictions are or needs to be, because that way, for me, on that point, when it comes to the town, it takes some of the responsibility away from the town, because we didn't actually have town employees going out there and putting things in. We paid a company to do it and do it correctly, and then we have something to fall back on.
And that is why I asked with the fibers for the wood of labor for at least that part.
The installation.
Because, when the gentleman was out here, and I was talking about the Harrow box rake, and I was talking about buck loader, and very politely described the work that was needed, and that he didn't think that, a person that's never done this before or had all the equipment to make sure that it was properly leveled off would be able to do it. The equipment that I talked about, yes, for moving around the mulch and refluffing it, definitely can be done after this is installed.
To maintain it.
So when you have it compacted, or like I said, under the swings, I would anticipate that'd be an every other week thing that you could go through, and you pull that back and then you fluff it, and that will help level at that point once you've got the good base. So it's not for not to buy that. And of course, that piece of equipment that we did buy was primarily do baseball fields, but can be used for that as well, and other things. But as you said, the primary thing I'd look to do is see if we can at least make it safe right now, so that somebody doesn't go on it and get hurt.
Right.
Well, with that concrete exposed, the bottom of the slide, all you need is a little toddler to fall backwards and bang his or her head, and that's huge on our head.
Yeah, most of the people think of the impact, going forward as they're coming off a slide or they're coming off a swing. It's actually in their handbooks that there's a public playground handbook, and most of the impacts that they talk about are actually backwards. That's why, as Ricky said, the swings are actually too far back. So if somebody pitched off of the swing, he actually had a radius tool that when you pull it back, shows a laser, and it shows that they'd be hitting possibly off of that berm. So you got
Anybody fell down backwards and hit the back of their head, they'll tell you how much the impact is and how you feel.
Definitely concussion on a little one.
So we don't want that at all.
No, that's a,
So is this something that has to go out to bid, Chris, or is this something that we can just contact a company or several companies and see if they can come out and give us an estimate? Since we're asking for work to be done.
Depends how we split it up,
Okay.
right?
You can't bid split,
Yeah.
that's the problem.
then it's
Okay.
funded it.
We can't, well,
You can have someone come out and give you an estimate.
but I
Then
mean,
based upon whatever the estimates are, Glenn, then that would determine if you have to go out to bid.
okay. But based on that two way, I mean, to say is, some companies maybe come in and able to do all the, fixtures, all the equipment, stuff like that, and they may not do most, where you have to have a, so,
But we just have to be careful.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like we're bid splitting.
Right.
To stay underneath the
yeah.
limits.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern.
Well, it sounds like the mulch alone's very
Mulch
costly.
alone is over 10 grand, so you
Yeah,
already
so-
have an issue with
Yeah.
go out to bid.
Unless you find a company that completely does everything,
There actually is a bunch of companies that do it all.
do it all, playground companies, yeah. I'm sure, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you, Jeremy.
So,
yeah.
So where do we lie on
Yeah.
Well,
closure?
how soon can you put up a fence?
if you can get there tomorrow, that'd be
Tomorrow.
great.
Yeah. I think we have to look at having some signs made up too, that,
I said, if that's okay with you, we'll look
I was
at
gonna say,
do
do
it
we make a
tomorrow.
motion?
yeah, well, it's gonna be okay with us, so it'll be okay with Chris. So,
And it would be a temporary snow fencing is what we have.
That's what I believe would be the easiest to do.
it's easiest to put in stakes
And then
and
we
stuff
can
like that.
Take down,
We can expand upon that if we find that it's
Yeah.
being vandalized or.
take down the chains.
And I'll put it up on the website.
Put it on the web, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, this is gonna go to the back burner. First step is to make sure we don't have someone going on the playground and getting hurt. The second thing we're gonna do is start looking at getting estimates, what the cost would be to, I guess, repair it, bring it up to where it needs to be according to code, and then go from there, and start looking at that, the cost.
And some
Yeah.
fundraising maybe from the
Yeah.
Friends of Dufrank to help
Yeah.
out, to defray the cost.
We could do some things, see what it costs, and, yeah.
Well, he's already been talking with M.E. O'Brien, who supplied the original equipment. I would say, call them and see if they know of anybody who can come out and, maybe they'd be willing to come out and take a look.
Yeah.
But I also like to see though too, just where the playground is sited as well, because spend all that money back onto it and still have concerns that, with the elements, water and all that,
All the
could cause the same
chips
problems.
floating away.
Like, again, the same, and I mean, I don't wanna do that. Like you said, is there a better place for it where longevity is gonna pay off for us, you know?
Yeah, I guess the other thing too, that when John LaRue came out to do the inspection, he said, what he's seen over the last 20 years is people don't dig down to do the base for any of them. They're actually building up off grade.
Okay.
And then for handicap accessibility, they're just doing compacted ramps that come up to it of earth and then, so this way you don't have that worry as much, even when you have frost heaves and everything else, you're.
Yeah.
You know, what I'd like to do if we could, you two think though, but maybe, at the same time, we're getting estimates on this, but we're also looking at what it would cost to maybe do a new playground. Because I'd like to see if we can kind of do that both at the same time, so we're not waiting for estimates and things like that to come in to figure out what's gonna cost. And to say, okay, well, it's gonna cost this, what does it cost to do a new playground? If we can kind of do that at the same time, we'd have some, things to look at as far as what it costs to repair, what it costs for a new one.
Cost-effectiveness.
So, and see what is the better fit at that time. So with that, I just try to move the process along quicker, because as you said, I don't like having the park closed. I mean, for the parents and the children, especially this time of the year, it's summertime. People go outside, it's what they do, even with the fall coming. So it's, I like for us to kind of see how quick we can move it along. But then again, when it comes, we don't have money to repair it right now, so that's gonna sit and wait anyways till we have the funding to do it. So we'll have to wait on that.
They can give us an idea.
No, we do, and that's the thing, we need to have an idea what it's gonna cost. to do that, so when the time comes and we're putting it together and we're asking the town, we're gonna need maybe X amount of dollars to do A or do B, we wanna make sure that we're prepared for it. And so it can
Maybe
kinda
there's a
move us along.
group out there, mothers or fathers who bring their kids there and say, hey, we like this place to hang out. Maybe they can get something going or
Yeah, we'll figure out
help
something.
it out.
But I think we need a motion to close the playground temporarily.
Hate to make the motion, but it's what's best for the town and liability, so I shall make that motion to temporarily close the park until repairs can be made so that it's safe for families and children to enjoy the playground.
There you go, I'll second that motion.
All right, is there any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? No, you're right, Crystal, it's tough to, and I said it's tough to do that, because a lot of people, I know, still bring their children there and still enjoy it, so. But last thing
I'm just
is,
afraid
we
we're
want
gonna
somebody to
get
get
a
hurt.
huge estimate, it's gonna be upwards of 100.
So then, yeah, and like you said, as far as funding, we don't have our FY '23 budgets already made.
Right, yep.
So we would have to take from something else.
And we can't take from something else.
Because we already
you can't.
allocated it, right?
Well, no, till our, something else is certified, our free cash and stuff like
Okay.
that, but that wouldn't be till, we get into next year, so. But this may take just, it's gonna take a while to do this, kinda like, I like to get the process going and get it going sooner than later, and then we can do both at the same time, where we know what it's gonna cost to repair it, and what it's gonna cost to, build a new one. But also have recommendations as far as, like I said, my concern too is the site, if that's the correct area for it. Because I don't wanna spend money on something and then, have the same issue for people, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So, all right. Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate that.
Well, Jeremy's here, do we want to talk about this?
We can, if you want to, sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Call him back up.
So Jeremy, just while you're here, I figured we could talk about the sign for the trash. So it was a public notice for trash, please carry out what you carry in. I noticed in your departmental report, you guys had to spend a whole day just picking up people's trash from the park, which is very sad. Very sad that, that it's that much trash that people are leaving behind. So did you get a price on the signs?
I did, they're $25 a piece if you
Okay.
order 12 or more.
Okay.
They said that's the typical order that they usually do, is 12 signs. And it's a double-sided sign.
Okay.
Jeremy, didn't we do this once before, like a leave no trace type of thing? We
Not
took
in
the
there.
barrels away and the problem became outrageous, correct?
We currently don't have barrels in the park. The only one that we have is for the fecal waste that's at the dog park itself. And we empty that on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays typically. That's not the problem, is so much those. A lot of times people will use the grills, leave trash right by the grills. They bring bags in. Sometimes we'll bag their trash, but then leave it on the picnic tables or under them. And by that time, we even get back to the park, they're chewed apart by animals.
Yeah, raccoons love that.
Yeah, and we found them, at the water's edge or in it, so it's not a good thing either. So, we've tried to educate the public as to why we don't put barrels. In the past, when we did have barrels, people would bring in their own waste from home as well.
Yes.
And we'd find bags and bags of stuff in there, they'd be overflowing. So, most parks around the area, you'll see even state parks have gone to the, please carry out what you carry in.
You see it in a lot of places.
It's getting to be bigger. It's even made the news, I think, with a couple of the Springfield waterfront areas this week. The trash is the large problem.
But, and I hate to say it, but I will say it, for those people that are doing that, the sign's not gonna make a difference. Not gonna change it. That's just, the people that are bringing the trash in or leaving it or throwing it on the ground, the sign's not gonna change that. I just don't think it changes that mentality.
And we can't make the cops the trash police over here, writing tickets to people, delivery. To a certain extent, if you see it, you gotta deal with it, but,
Yeah, that's a frustrating, it's just frustrating.
yeah.
The amount of trash you see in areas and it's done by people.
Yeah, I think one time I just mentioned it, that a couple of places had signs, so at least the question goes away every time. We get hounded, all of
Yeah.
our workers, myself, when we're there. You know, when are the barrels coming back? Why don't you have the barrels? And we explain to them,
Yep.
carry in, carry out.
Well, because
So-
people used to, at one point, the barrels being there. But like you said, it's, you know, whatever you bring in, bring out. And there are more and more places that are doing that.
So it'd be $300 to get 12 of them. And like you said, just to give you and the other people on the building maintenance, where you're not getting questioned every 5 seconds about when the trash is coming back, do you think it would help you guys in that respect? At least some of them.
But as
Yeah.
said, it definitely won't stop the influx of that. But that's up to the select board. I was just asked to bring it forward, and
Yeah.
that's what I've done. and
So it'd be about
looks so pretty
$300 for
color.
12.
I mean,
that's all we can do.
I think it's a small cost, and for anything, it kind of shows to what our policy is. What's our policy around the parks, it says it right there. So, and then we'll just, I think it's on our website now, when they're told that whatever they bring in, they bring out, yeah.
It's right on.
Yep, it's on the, permit, so that's all.
Signs going in with like the, speed limit, things like that, on both sides, or not? We used to.
I don't think we have speed
There,
limits.
yeah, there are.
There are speed
There are on
limits?
both sides. Yeah.
On the left or the right?
Could we put something
On the
there
right as you're
also?
going down.
I've seen them
Each
down
side.
Taylor Street, but not Kendall and entrance.
We've had a couple stolen over the,
Okay.
same as the
remember.
park closes
Yeah.
at dusk and then opens at dawn, have been taken over time as well. But I still have a couple spares, so I'll check when we're doing the other work. If the speed limit's missing, we can put another one back up.
It's 10 miles an hour, correct?
I think it's 5.
5.
Better get those
Could we
10
put a
speed
sign
bikes out
under
there.
that?
I'm sorry?
Could we put a sign on your back as they're going?
So that they see both the speed limit and
They
the
only
traffic?
made a speed limit one, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think though too, when you have a sign up there, it gives us the ability to enforce it. The sign's right there, and so it's a notification to the town, to whoever's using it, that may leave the trash behind. Here's a notification. Same thing with trespassing signs.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be great if we put these right at each entrance as they're going in and approaching the gate. So they can't say, I mean, if you're only in a little area,
Then why
you
would
have to see it.
Then do that. If that's the entrance ways into it, then that's where you put them.
Yeah.
And then by the
Those, and then maybe
pavilions.
by, right, the pavilions and
Yeah.
and on the other side. I was recommending that since we also have the same issue at
Brown
Brown Ellison.
I would do the
to at
same
least
thing.
do it at Brown
I would do
Ellison.
the same
Yeah.
thing if that's what our,
Yeah.
you know, policy will be. And for all the parks, I think we put them up there.
That would be
Yeah.
great.
So I'll make a motion to approve the public notice, trash, please carry out what you carry in signs, 12 of them
Is 12 enough for all the areas you want to do?
for both parks.
I think for now, I think it'd be
Yeah.
good to start with that and
Okay.
see, or the price is cheaper if you do it from 12 or more, so.
Well, that's what I'm asking. So you were talking about
Well, we
the
just-
entrance way for all so like, let's do it. If we're gonna do it, let's put them up everywhere we want them now.
Maybe 16.
So probably get 24.
You want to go to full 24?
Well, you have ones to replace them. I
Okay.
mean, so, you know, because after you order them, you're gonna have to order 12 more to get the same. So you might as well, if we're thinking 16, go right to, I'm thinking go to 24, so now you have them. Because if someone takes them down or they get damaged, you don't have any extras, you're gonna order 12 more again. So might as well just do it now.
Okay.
It's just my take.
All right, so 24 then, signs, so $600.
And it may be a little bit cheaper too, right?
No, it was 20, it was 12 or more.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
But I think-
I did ask that if
Yeah.
it went more, they said, you're gonna get a couple hundred. I said, no. Just because of the
But I think it's good to have extras on hand.
double-sided too, you know.
Because like I said, if you don't, then you have to order, next time you order 12 more to get the same price point. What's the cost if you don't order 12 per sign?
I believe she said it was 30.
So it's not that big a difference.
It's not a big difference, but
But
they
it's good
like
to have
to
on-
print
yeah.
12 at a time
Yeah.
because of the setup
No,
costs. so.
yeah, but it's good I think it's good to have extras on hand though, too, so.
Okay. Do you want me to make a motion again?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I will make a motion again to approve the public notice trash, please carry out what you carry in signs, 24 of them, for Brown Ellison and Dufresne Park.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right,
Okay, I'll order them tomorrow.
there you go.
Thank you, Jeremy.
All right, we have, to approve and sign maintenance warrants.
I did the correspondence thing.
We did, yep.
All right, so I'll make a motion for the following warrants. We have fiscal year 2022 warrant 83 dated June 30th, 2022. And this is a payable warrant for $145,168.39. And fiscal year 2023, actually, I wrote this all down ahead of time so that I wouldn't have to flip through all of them. So fiscal year 2023, I have warrant number 6, dated July 22nd, 2022, in the amount of $397,970.58, and this is a payroll expenditure warrant. Then I have warrant number 7, fiscal year 2023, dated July 22nd, 2022, and the amount of $142,743.77, and this is a maintenance warrant. And then the last one is fiscal year 2023, warrant number 8, dated July 29th, 2022, in the amount of $300,370.03, and this is also a payable warrant.
Is there a second?
Oh, second, sorry.
Is there any further discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Go. Chris, did you have anything else for us before we move into old business? No. So, on the old business, we have, the position for the Director of Senior Services. Did everybody get a chance to review that?
I did, yes.
Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Same thing, really. I think we're good with it. The only thing we need to do is update the dates on the bottom.
Yeah.
Personnel board give this a grade level?
Yeah. That was part of the study that was done.
The what?
That was included as part of that study that was done by Don Jacobs.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
No, I like that. In the description, it has areas where it says that this is not a list of basically the extent of the requirements for the job. It's just illustrations of the various type of work that they will perform, because you can't possibly anticipate every single thing that they're going to come faced with. So I did like that that was in here.
I think there's one job out there, they'd have to, you could write down every possible thing they'd have to possibly do.
No, but I like that it's in here,
Yeah.
because some job descriptions don't have them in there.
Well, if everybody's okay with it, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the job description for the Council of Aging.
Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Is there further discussion at this time? No?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
And again, Glenn, you just want the date
The date's
updated
in the
down at the
bottom,
bottom.
it's updated
Okay.
because it's going to be going out as the newest version.
Right.
Is that older? Yeah, that's right. And it went to 2015.
Yeah.
It was a real old one.
Town planner.
Oh, the town planner, yep. The town planner. Did you get a chance to review that one?
Yeah.
Do you have any concerns with it?
No.
No?
None for me.
Crystal, any concerns with the?
Trying to remember where I read it. I should have wrote it on the side. Hold on 1 second. Let me just find it.
We can postpone it to next meeting if you want to wait. If you think there's something you wanted to add or change.
I'm just trying to see where it said grants, because we want them to be our grant writer, right? So we're
Yes.
calling them the town planner conservation agent. So I just wanted to make sure that the duties in there include grant writing. Yeah, I don't see it in here. Hold on. That was under duties of both positions, and then we have conservation agent. Yep, there we go. Have the ability to, research ability to write grants for initiatives related to the Conservation Commission and the town's environmental management goals. So are those the only two things that we want them to do, or are we actively seeking this person to write grants for many departments? Because this is only saying for the Conservation Commission and the town's environmental management goals. So I know we had, when we originally talked about having a grant writer, we also had talked about them writing grants for other departments as well that don't have the time to do it. So I just want to make sure that we write that somewhere, and that might go under both, because that's for the conservation agent. One of their duties.
I mean, we could just have them note as to write grants for various departments
Okay.
as needed. Kind of cover it.
Simple. Get the point across, yeah.
And you kind of just, when it comes up, you'll see what kind of the person may have as far as, qualification writing grants. Usually it'd be heavy on one side, a little lighter on the other side
Right.
versus, when you're always combining different jobs that are kind of different. You can have one that probably weighs a little bit more on one side and the other.
Yeah, I like that idea. So have the research ability to write grants for various departments, as well as the initiatives related to, or you want to just leave, because that leaves it, that gives specific goals that we want them to keep at the forefront, I guess.
Yeah, I think you could stay that way and just add into
Okay.
it. The
As
other
well as for various departments.
yeah. Various department needs.
Okay.
All right.
So I will make a motion to accept the town planner conservation agent job description
As amended?
as amended, with underneath essential skills and duties, have the research ability to write grants for initiatives related to Conservation Commission and the town's environmental management goals, as well as for various departments as needed.
I'll second.
All right. See any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, next is the town accountant. So I did some research on one of our meetings we had, that was a couple meetings ago. It came up about the town accountant and whether, as we know, Chris Martin right now is our town accountant, and whether or not it was a conflict in his position.
Yes.
So I reached out to our town council, Brian O'Toole, and I posed the question to him because I want to make sure that we weren't doing anything that we're not supposed to be doing. And Brian looked at the Mass General laws as it refers to that, whether or not it would be a conflict. And according to Brian, it is not a conflict because Chris is not responsible for receiving money or paying out money. That's all done by the treasurer. That's the treasurer's responsibility, not the accountant's responsibility. So the accountant and the treasurer combined together
Okay.
would be a conflict. Now you have the person that's actually receiving the money and paying it out is actually the person that's, there'd be no oversight on that.
Yeah.
So I know we were talking about, looking for a town accountant. I did read some of the information that was presented as far as the town of Chesterfield and how their search went, looking for that. And I know I've been on the board for several years. I know this has come up before in the past as well. So I would, I would say, we're going to need a town accountant for the future. But I also can say at this point, I'm very pleased what Mr. Martin has been doing with that position over the years. Someone I really, and I say this from someone that's been sitting on the board for the past 5 years or so, that always puts the town of Granby's financial needs first, and when it comes to looking at spending money, whether it's certain departments within the, or all the departments within the town, or, you know, what is feasible to us to spend money on, where we should spend money and stuff like that. I also went back and looked at the audits that we've had. I've been part of several of the audits too, and I didn't see anywhere that they mentioned that it did ever come up there was a conflict with Chris being the town administrator, but also a town accountant. Things that did come up was always talking about funding our retirement, which is always going to be a concern that we have, because we're not funding it nearly as what we would need to be where we should be. But as I think, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he said, you know, most towns and cities are not, because it's just, they can't fund it at what you would need to fund it at. It's just not able or feasible to do it. So, but I know, I suspect Chris will be around at least another couple of years on his contract. And I would, my suggestion would be to keep Chris on as our town accountant throughout his contract that he has with us currently, as the town administrator. But I also say that the board does venture out and seek to see what is out there for availability for someone that may be interested in the job down the road, or what's available to us. As far as I know, Chris had mentioned before about a accounting firm that would do it, and the cost was extremely expensive to the town. So just some things that, again, I know we have to, I think one of our responsibilities too as this board is to plan for the future. Chris will not always be here, so someone to, you know, holding two different jobs makes it difficult to replace somebody. Who's to say that, you know, when the time comes and Chris leaves, Chris retires or something, that we need to find a new accountant. And most, you know, you may not find a town administrator that has the knowledge to be an accountant as well, to do both. And it's just, and some of the people that I've reached out to say, well, no, we don't. We have a part-time accountant, and the part-time accountant we have is someone that's been known in town for many years, and they're familiar with the town, and it's more of a person that's lived there for many years and just wants to be started probably doing it 25 years ago, just continues to do it. So,
Did you talk to somebody on this in Chesterfield?
I didn't talk to someone in Chesterfield, no.
No, just what this article you gave us?
Yeah.
I agree with everything you're saying. I think Chris has been doing a fantastic job doing both, but I think we need to look, and they don't have a problem with this job description.
No,
I think we don't have to hire anybody, but it's nice to be ready to.
Well, I think, again, I think if the board's, you know, like I said, down the road, that is going to become, I think, reality. And whether it's this board or another board, I think our responsibility also is preparing for that, you know, for the other board. So there's maybe some things that we should look at. But like I said, I'm pleased with the work that's being done. And I say that sitting on this board for several years and having the accounting firm come in here and tell us about how our audit went. And it's always been, you know, a rave review of how we, the town, in particular, you know, Chris, handles the money within inside the town. So, I would not want to take something and kind of interrupt that and then find out we made a mistake and have errors or issues, or we hire someone that's there for, you know, for 2, 3, 4 months and then leaves because of something else, because this is a part-time job, it's not a full-time job, want any benefits, and then someone leaves and then we're right back to square one, and, you know, we're asking the person to, you know, pick up where he left off, which I don't think is fair as well. So I like to, said myself, is right now is to stay status quo with it, but also research for our future, because that is something we can look at and find out what's available out there if people are even interested in it. But I think if you read the article from Chesterfield, that kind of says and states that it's the issues and problems that they have. You know, finding someone that, you know, not just an accountant, but someone that is knowledgeable in the public sector. Because if you talk to someone that's an accountant, they'll tell you that's a whole different ball of wax when it comes to that.
So what do you want to do on this?
I just think, I think right now, my just...
Accept the job description?
I like the job description, I think it's fine, but I think it's just to table it now, instead of moving forward as to, you know, if we're looking for a town accountant. Just, and I'm not saying that we don't, I just say we table it now and consider it, you know, further down the road, or sort of looking at what may be available to us. I mean, we can even reach out to that company Chris spoke about before and see what it costs, and you kind of get an idea of cost comparison, what it costs for someone to come in here and do it part-time. And that's an accounting firm. Because most, like I said, most people aren't going to be doing it for, you know, 15 hours a week.
I think also, if we wanted to go that route, I think we should also look into the regional municipality or municipal accounting through Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, because they do it for Blandford, Chesterfield, and Goshen. Same thing, small towns don't need full-time accountants. I think that's the second paper on there.
Yeah.
And it's actually not, I think it was Joshua Garcia, he's not in charge of it anymore, he's now the mayor of Hoyoke, so it's Eric Wise who's in charge of the regional accounting. When I reached out to them to ask them a little more questions than what was online, and they said they haven't updated it, but it's not Joshua Garcia anymore, it's Eric Wise.
Right, yep.
So, like you said, we don't know how long people are going to be in certain positions, and I just would hate to have my eggs all in one basket and then the town is in a predicament where we don't have anybody for a position. So if you want to table the town accountant and appoint Chris for the year until June 30th, 2023 and see what's out there, is that what you're suggesting? And just see what's out there as far as what's available to us and how, because I'm not, beyond this paper, I don't know how this program works. I mean, it says it takes it in account a town a need of service or reviewed by a case-by-case basis. So they would have to, you know, contact us, see what we need, and go from there.
Well, right, I mean...
And see if they have anyone that can help us.
Right.
But the fee for just evaluating it is $1,500, just to see if they can even give us services, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm fine with appointing Chris, and Chris has a contract with the town of Granby for his services, his position, employment.
For town administrator and...
Well, to the point where, yeah, so Chris is not going anywhere. He has a, you know, and I don't see that, and just based on my conversations with Chris and his dedication for the town, I don't see him going anywhere.
And I think the auditors coming in and saying that there's been no issues found. For the last 2 years I've been on the board.
But what you're saying, Chris, I think, again, we table it and kind of look at it down the road, and because eventually, sooner or later, that will be reality. We're gonna have to look at something like that. But again, I don't want to go out and get something and to find out what we had, if you will, in-house was better than the service that we're paying outside. Because in-house right now, we have someone that knows how to do the job, and from, again, some of the audits that we've had over the several years, has done a nice job with it, but also someone that is, you know, who cares and is dedicated to the town and the job that that person does. So, but again, we need to, you know, always think about the future.
You're looking for a motion? Do we need one?
No, I just think we're just looking to table it, unless anybody feels different. We can discuss that as well.
That's a great idea.
And we can table it till, you know...
2 years from now.
Like Crystal mentioned, maybe that, you know, just because we table it to next June or something like that, talk about it then again, and see if we feel any different at that time.
That works.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
'Cause at that time, you may have a different board, so.
We're tabling it when?
Till June of 2023.
I wonder what happened with Mr. Edwards.
I don't know.
Did you get any emails or text from?
Well, if you had the wrong date, maybe. Could have been, could have the wrong date.
I'll see if, I'll try and put them on the
Yeah,
next agenda.
usually not, it's not like him, so maybe just had the wrong date or something. All right. Anybody have anything else? I think that's everything, right?
Yes, executive session.
All right. So at this time, we're going to move into executive session under 30A-21-A, number 2, and that is for contract discussion. So at this time, we'll do a roll call. I say roll call vote, it's not a roll call. And it will come out of our executive session, and then we'll come out of our normal session at that point, just to adjourn. So, roll call vote at this time.
Bowler, aye.
Sexton, aye.
Dufresne, aye.
Okay.